Now you have a general idea on how we do a survey. So first of all, like when we want to talk about the weights of 30 S2 students, and the first thing we need to collect the data. That is, we want to know the weights of these 30 students. Afterward, we need to organize the data in a table. So now it is called a frequency distribution table. And then we group the data according to the categories, including like 31 to 35, 36 to 40, and the next 41 to 45, 46 to 50. After having the frequency distribution table, we need to present the data. Normally, it will be presented as a diagram. Like in the previous session, we would like to present it in a histogram, like the following diagram. In this histogram, it uses bars to show you the frequency of the weights of the students in different groups. It also uses the class mark, like the first group is 33, which is representing 31 to 35 kg. Second class mark is 38, which is representing the group 36 kg to 40 kg. Besides class mark, you can also use class boundaries to mark in the diagram. So that means for the first bar, we will be using 30.5 to this one should be 35.5 for the first group. Next, 35.5 to 40.5 for the second group, 40.5 to 45.5 for the third group, and lastly is 45.5 to 50.5. Besides histogram, you can also use another kind of diagram to present the data, which is called frequency polygon or frequency curve. If a histogram is already given to you, you can simply mark down the midpoint of the line on top of the bar, and then so mark down the midpoint, and midpoint. Now after that, you link them up together, which gives you a frequency polygon. But a requirement of frequency polygon is at last you need to add one more point, which is the next class mark, so that the line will drop to 0. The other side the same. You need to have a place for your previous class mark, and it also drops to 0. So that's why in this diagram I cannot draw a proper frequency polygon for you. So the other way will be if you start from very beginning, starting from the frequency polygon. So the first thing we have to do will be, first of all, we need to find the class mark for each group. So that's why 31 to 35 you are 33, 36 to 40 is 38, and so 41 to 45 is 43, and 46 to 50 is 48. Do you remember how to find the class mark? If you forget it, so let's have a very quick revision here. So for 31 to 35, the class mark is given or can be found by you find the average of the two numbers in the class interval. So adding up 31 and 35 and is divided by 2, you get 33. Similarly, 38 will be given by 36 plus 40 divided by 2. So the only thing you need to do is, you remember that at two ends of the frequency polygon, you should be dropping to 0. So that's why you can see 38, 33. So that's why the previous class mark should be 28. Similarly, 43 and 48, the next class mark will be 53. So these are two special class marks you need to add in your frequency polygon. As well as in these two class marks, the frequency will be 0. So this is a preparation work you have to do before you sketch a frequency polygon from the very beginning. After you have your new frequency polygon, then you can start drawing your diagram by yourselves, which is 28 is 0, so put a little cross here, 33 is 4, little cross, 38 is 7, and so on. So after that, then you link up each cross 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is your frequency polygon in the question, called frequency polygon. And then in some occasions, we want to have a smooth curve. We don't want to have a graph which shows you some broken lines. Okay, so we just mention a word called broken lines. So if you want to have a smooth curve, then sometimes the diagram will not be drawn in this way. So instead of using a ruler to join the curve, now this time you will be like sketching. So you try to sketch the diagram or sketch the points together so that it's smooth as well as it's link up all the points. So in this case, then it goes to, we call it frequency curve, because now it's a curve rather than some broken lines. So this is the very brief introduction about frequency polygon, frequency curve, and the relation between these two diagrams with histogram. So hope it's clear enough to you. Next, we come to take a look in question 1, which is a histogram is given to you to talk about the time spent by a group of teenagers on exercise every day. And so it's asking you about what is the class width and also draw a frequency polygon. So how about we start from part B first? If you totally understand the concept we just mentioned right now, from histogram we would like to mark the midpoint of on top of each bar in a histogram. So actually you will see it's exactly on top of the class mark. And then so now you, okay, let's wait. Okay, put a mark in the middle, put a mark, a mark, okay, for on top of each bar. And then afterward, you need to drop to 0 or in the previous class mark. So it should be here, which is 17. And the other side should be here, which is 57. And afterward, you just link up all the points. Okay, so it's better for you to use a ruler. And now I just draw it very roughly. Okay, then it is called the frequency polygon of this question, or of the time spent by a group of teenagers on exercise every day. Okay, coming up next, we go back to question A, which is about class width. Do you remember the meaning of class width? Yes, it's talking about upper class boundary, boundaries minus the lower class boundaries. So somehow you can say it's the width of each bar you can find in the histogram. So that's why we need to find out the value of this value and this value respectively. So in order to do so, and then let's pick this one as the first example. At this point, it should be in the middle of 20 to 27. So that's why we add up the two values divided by 2, which gives you, what is it? 24.5, right? So after that, that means, well, in this length is 2.5 here, because it's 20 to 24.5. So that means on the other side will be also 2.5. So which means this point would be 22 minus 2.5 as well, which is 19.5. And then as a result, according to these two values, and then these two values will give us a class width, which is 24.5 minus 19.5, which is 5 cm. Not 5 cm, it should be 5 minutes. This question is a very good example to demonstrate to you how you can turn a histogram into a frequency polygon. Number 2 is, it also tells you that you can read the class boundaries, no matter upper class boundaries or lower class boundaries in a histogram, so that you can find the class width of each class interval. Next, we will go to see how we can draw a frequency curve in the following example. So let's read the questions together. And first of all, you are asked to add the row in the above table to show the class mark of each class interval. Hopefully it won't be a very difficult task for you because you know the way how to do it, which is class mark is the middle number between 15 and 19. So that's why we take an average of them, which gives you 17. Similarly, the second box will be 20 plus 24 over 2, which gives you 22. So after that, you can make a deduction. First 17 is 22. So next one, do you know what number is it? Yes, that's good. 27. Next, 32, 37, and finally, 42. So class mark is very, very important for frequency polygon or frequency curve because it's where you put the crosses at. For example, when you see the frequency is 8, so where should you put at 8? it should be right above the class mark 17 in the diagram. So now let's take a few minutes to draw the axis in the diagram. But beforehand, we have to add the heading, the title of the diagram first, which is, you can copy from the question itself. It's called the age of 55 students in a Spanish class. So this is the title. And then now we need to draw the diagram. I don't have a ruler at this moment, so that's why you try to use a ruler. Draw a very good axis by yourselves. And the next, supposedly there should be some numbers, we'll miss it. So that's why we have a lightning notation. And now we draw the axis as well. So bear in mind that in your work, you have to use a ruler. Alright, after drawing the axis, you have to label the axis as well. So the vertical axis will be called frequency. So that means the total number of students you are talking in each class interval. While the horizontal axis is talking about the age. I just mentioned two words. One is called horizontal, which is talking about the axis about age, while the other word is called vertical, which is the axis about frequency. So that's why you can guess the meaning of horizontal and vertical is themselves. Make sure that you know these words. Alright. Okay, so now we have 17 as the first class mark. Maybe I put it in red. But bear in mind that it shouldn't be our first class mark, because we should have a previous class mark at which there is a 0 as the frequency. So that's why the 17 should be the second number, while the previous one should be, bingo, that's 12. And then now it comes to 22, 27, 32, 37, 42, and bear in mind that there should be one class mark at the end, at which you have a 0 over there. That means 47. So now we can quickly mark 47 and 12 with a cross. And next, we are going to label the frequency on the vertical axis. It may be 5, 10, 15, 20. It may be like 10, 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. So it should be based on the frequency you are talking about, so that you can decide the numbers by yourselves. And now I find the frequency is 8, 11, 14, 12, 7, and 3. So that's why it may be good to choose from 2 for each like 10 grids. So now you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. That's good. I just need 14 from my answer. So that's why we have, now we can put the red cross. Okay, 12, 0, 17 is 8, 11 is 22 is 11, 27 is 14, class mark 32 is 12, 37 is 7, 42 is 3, and finally 47 is 0. And now you bear in mind that while the question is talking about frequency curve, that means we are not going to use rulers to join the points one by one, but we are going to sketch a curve smooth enough to connect the points together. So that's why instead of drawing a vertical line, now we are going to draw a curve which connects the points together. You try not to have vertical line, not vertical line. We try not to have straight line to link up the points together. So generally, the curve will be like this. So this is the difference between curve. This is called repeat. This is called frequency curve. And then so you can compare with frequency polygon in the previous example. Lastly, we'll be reading a question in which a frequency polygon is given to you, and you have to read and find the information from it. So let's take a look. This is a question talking about the high jump results of 100 athletes in a sports day. Here it is. And we see that most of them, 30 of them, they come from the group with a class mark 125. And then, so maybe it's like this. And now from part A, you are asked to complete the table. Well, you will see that it's very difficult to see, or you can't see 113 and 117 from the diagram, nor 118 and 122 from the diagram. Definitely no, you can't see anything. And then, so as a result, so what does that mean from the table? Actually, if you remember, each class mark 115, 120, 125, 130, 135, 140, and 145, and they belong to a certain class info, and here it is. And then, so that's why the table should be giving you one or two ranges so that you can write afterward. Can you see that the difference between these two numbers is a 4, and the next 4 as a result? So can you guess the next two numbers or the range of the next group? Yes, it should be 123 to 127, very alike to the first one. Similarly, next one will be 128 to 132, which is very similar to the second one. So can you spend a minute or just half a minute to complete the next 3 boxes? If you don't have enough time, please pause the video and make sure that you should complete the table by yourselves. And now I provide you the answer afterward. Next we have 133 to 137, 138 to 142, and finally 143 to 147. So these are the class interval. Remember, it's class interval, which is talking about the height. And for the class mark, it should be the middle number in this group. So middle number of this group, can you use a calculator to check it? Yes, 120. Next one, can you check it as well? Yes, 125. Afterward, you can make a simple deduction to fill in the coming 4 boxes. I give you 10 seconds or 20 seconds to do so. Alright, so next is 130, 135, 140, and finally 145. And the next frequency can be read from the diagram now, because at 115, so you should have like 12, which is belongs to the group 113 cm to 117 cm. Similarly, 120 class mark is, you will see it's 23. And now take another 10 seconds time to write down the answers in the coming boxes. Now they are 30, 20, 9, 5, 1. As a careful person as well as a smart student, so the total given in the question 100 is very useful for you to double check whether you got a proper answer or not. Now use your calculator to add up 12, 23, 30, 20, 9, 5, and 1. Is the sum of all these number 100? If yes, that means probably you've got a correct answer. Touch wood if it's no, that means you make a mistake in reading the answer already. Yes, it's 100, so that's why our answer is properly correct. And one more thing is, in the frequency table, we don't have the information about 110 and 150 because they are those two newly added points in which the frequency curve or frequency polygon should have. They do not belong to the original frequency table itself. So please bear in mind that. And then after you get the information from the table, then you can go ahead to answer the question part B and part C. And now you see that John is known to be 137.5, and you're asked to which class interval does it belong to. It's a very easy question because you will see 137.5 is right between the second and the third last group, but because of runoff, it should be belongs to the second last group. So we call 138 cm to 142 cm. That is. Some of you can also say it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can also say it's the safe class interval. Both answers are welcome. They are both correct. Okay, interval. Afterward, we come to part C. It is known that the athletes with result 132 cm or above can enter the final. And how many finalists are there? And now I try to use a highlighter to do so. 132.5, that means this is the cutoff line. Above, that means it should be this three numbers added together, isn't it? If you agree with it, so you can say there are 9, 5, and 1, totally 15 students over there. So it won't be very difficult, isn't it?